Hello, everyone, and welcome to Poppy's Field Project. I am your host, Nova, and I'm with Mariah. Matthew is supposed to be coming in, so I'm not quite sure where he is. I was actually just getting ready to text him to let him know, hey, we're here. I know he's out in like some ashram. I almost could not say that. Anyways, yeah, today we are going to get into water rights. We have known for a while that the country, I remember my mom or talking about it when I was a kid, that eventually the world will be fighting for water rights. And, and whoever's going to make it, is going to, have the water. And, they go into like how there's these shortages, which there are, just depending on where you are in the world. But now it's coming to a close where, you know, where you live, and especially if in rural areas where there's wells, there's a possibility that you will not be able to farm with them for very much longer. At least that's kind of what we're looking at in the actual world today. And the reason why is because, we have several uses for water. For one, there's fracking. Two, there's these data centers that are coming up. And then you have farming on top of that. And then you have over farming, where they just use a lot of water for soy farms or wheat farms. And so, yeah, we're going to kind of get into this today, a little bit about like what water does and what the frequency does. And does water have a memory? Does it have a consciousness? And we're going to step into that today. So, and we're going to also, help inform the people. And because this is not, again, this is not about doom and gloom. This is about like where we can come together and rise up during the adversity. If you were with us last week, we were talking about Pluto for a couple, like 2 or 3 weeks, like Pluto moving through Capricorn all the way through Cancer for 167-year cycle, and how over that timeline there's famines, there's droughts, and there's really these repeats within the wheel. And Matthew and I were having this conversation earlier, is that um, the whole idea of spiritualism in the last, just since like, the pandemic happened, that all of this hype of of spiritual healing came up, and how there's all this, let's be positive and let's like make things better, which is great, and we can definitely put our feelers towards that direction. But they, I was saying to him, like, how they have drawn themselves away from the actual darkness too, because that is also a reality, and that's also a half truth. So we got to remember that there's snakes in the grass still, and there's tigers, um, and all these other things that go bump in the night. They don't just disappear. And during these cycles of generations and wheels within wheels. I mean, because there's so many of them. And actually, that would be a good podcast just to kind of go through all the cycles with you guys, so you can see, how over time it just keeps happening over and over again. So anyway, so yeah, welcome in everyone. We get together each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Easter time. And I apologize if I didn't have the right link. I have to fix that to when I forwarded it out. So I apologize. I'm having to edit that as we are speaking, or as I'm speaking to you right now, and having to like redo that. But anyways, welcome in Matthew and Mariah. How's it going, guys?
Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. I'm actually still out
Happy.
here in the Bahamas, so I'm surrounded by water, and it's some of the clearest water I've ever seen, which is amazing. And it's crazy to see colors just like in the slide like that, these aquamarines. And so I think that the water topic is very fitting for the environment, and where I've been at a sacred sound and healing center, and we've been focusing on water. So it'll be a great topic to talk about. There's lots of good stuff up in store, and I think we're going to have a good podcast. So it's going well. How about you, Mariah?
Aloha. It's been a busy couple of days. I've been farmers marketing it. I beat up my printer earlier today, but we made amends. Um, when you work for yourself, and yeah, sometimes I felt like it was I needed a bat, and good thing I didn't have one because I definitely had a what's the movie called? Uh, where they beat up like the printer. Oh, right now I'm like drawing a blank. My bad. Um, and it's good energy though of like being busy out and about. I work a lot at home, and so being around people. I did working on some debate stuff and keep you posted on word war debate for anybody that's in tune with that. But the water itself, like this is when the rivers have water. So everybody's getting out there as much as they can. A lot of people are fishing, paddleboarding, kayaking, just getting your feet in the water. And it's especially coming off of the mountains, it's like nice and clean and clear. So I'm glad you're getting some nice, clear, beautiful water too, Matthew. Um, but this is also like we're about to enter. I mean, we're still in Gemini, but then we're about to enter into Cancer, and like so, this is like that water elements coming in to play, and that's also working with the sun element, right? Because they're at the climax, so it's this beautiful dance of sun, the fire energy, and water energy right now, and so everything's like lush, all the bees, everything's blooming. And it's perfect because like how it gets fires and storms and droughts and stuff. So right now is like that sweetness spot. And so water is this like it is a vital force of life, just like our blood. And so we'll get into that too. But even though like a printer gives me shit and I have to beat it up, life is good right now, as it should be. Right.
Printers, they're never fun. Oh my god. It's like they should be so simple, but yet
it just would not communicate for the longest time. But so Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and it's been there for quite a while.
Yeah, and I've been eating. I have Jupiter in my 5th house, and I just want to eat all the time.
Jupiter has a lot of moon.
Thank God I don't. I don't balloon. Thank God I don't balloon. That's a good thing. Plus I don't eat a lot of sugar. So
have you guys looked up in the sky and seen how close they are to conjuncting? They're like neck and neck.
They have been conjunct
Jupiter and Venus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jupiter,
or what?
Venus. Yep.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I
even
have.
just yesterday they were like, yeah, they're right on top of each other. So what
Yep,
right
for a
as
little while.
dusk, you can see them in the western sky. And so we've talked about so Venus is the evening star now. That's more the Aphrodite, the feminine energy.
Mm.
And then she'll come back during the dog days of summer, right? When Sirius lines up with the sun, but that's also kind of the time of year when you start seeing Venus come back because Venus is about to go down on the horizon. Jupiter's following much, much slower. But in July, we'll see Jupiter move into Leo. So this is the last about month that we're going to have Jupiter exalted in this water element, which is really cool. And like hanging around with Venus, especially in the night sky, they're so bright. It's so great. Jupiter's been in Cancer for a long time, so you'll see the other two
Yeah, it has.
stars of
We
Cancer.
got Mercury retrograding coming up too at the end of the month, and that's going to be going on till August, like the middle of August or end of August. So that's going to be interesting. I don't remember the last time Mercury retrograded for that long. It's going to be, and it's going to happen during close to the end. It's on the 29th degree, and the full moon is going to be happening too at the same time. It's going to be conjuncting it, not exact, but we're going to have some emotional shit happening this summer, and not like we haven't had enough, of all this crap. But like Matthew said earlier today when I was talking to him, you know, let's be positive about it, but we also have to say, okay, well, what are we going to fucking do, you guys? Because this is ridiculous. We can't let this happen. How are we going to survive this? What do we do? Because I think that's kind of what everybody's kind of feeling right now is like, what do we do? Um, well, you, for one, have to remove yourself from the system. And I think that eventually, I mean, for those of us that are not necessarily in the cities, that's going to be pretty easy to do. But there's this reality coming where, we may not have water at our disposal. And and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. Again, it's not about that, but and it may not happen this exact year, but this data center stuff has been in the works for a while. This is before Trump. This is before blah blah blah. It goes all the way back to, if you recall, the Gore administration when they started talking about climate change. And a lot of us believed in it, and because we were like, "Oh yeah, woohoo," which that's all good and gravy, because I do believe that we should have clean access to clean water. So and air and food. But at the same time, humanity needs to learn that it needs to start doing it for itself, and that's we've been depending on the government for too long, or the grocery stores, or since what, it's been 80 years when this fad started, where we start going into grocery stores and buying like this fake food. So now humanity is going to have to be shook up and learn. If you haven't learned, I wish you the best in the process of getting to access, because I know a lot of us don't even have the opportunity to have a garden, with like not paying water bills. Like, water bills are fucking really high. I don't know about what you guys pay. What do you guys pay for? Because I don't pay for water, but what do you guys pay for water right now out of your pocket
Well, the
per month?
water has
Mhm.
been to me about the same, but it's like stuff like the gas and the electricity is going up. Besides, every time you leave your house, everything that should have been $3 is now like 10. Um, so it's inflation all over, and the water too. The recycling it. When I lived in Denver, I worked for a water purification system company. I went canvassing around, and so I got to learn what was in that water. And then they changed even the legislation to the legislation of the drinking water. They were putting chlorine in it, so they're just recycling it. And it's a cesspool. Like Denver is all the
Yeah,
water
it's so
trickles
gross.
down, right? Down from the mountains. That's why I like to stay up
Mhm.
high.
I can't believe we've been actually living like that for so long, where the water is,
Well, and then you take
coming
a
from a sewage
shower
plant.
in it, and then it's
It's
chlorine
disgusting.
water. And then if it's a hot shower, you can get it turns into vapor. That chlorine turns into vapor. And I was like passing out in the shower and here all the chlorine in the Denver water was like was turning into a gas and like poisoning me.
Well, and the amount
Jesus.
of chemicals they have to treat it with, because people dump like toxins like paint or oil, or they're cleaning their yard or their
Medication.
garage,
Yeah, what we piss
medications, and it
out,
comes
And they
down and it
pee.
goes down the
everything we
sewer,
pee
and
out.
it
It's
gets
recycling
recycled.
the shit water that like as well.
That we
And so now
pee.
they put ammonia in it.
Mm.
You.
Yo.
Yeah.
Now
Well, I don't know about because
more things.
I don't know
Liquefied
what
bodies in it.
I don't know if I don't think Matthew is growing a garden, but if you were to grow a garden, it would increase your water bill. Like if
Well, we actually
you
just got
needed water.
new restrictions this year on our water
Uh-huh.
bills, because I think there's like a standard cap. It's around like $100 a month, and
Uh-huh.
it used to be 5,000 gallons, and then they charge you after that, by how much you
Okay.
use. But they literally just slashed that in half to 2,500 gallons per month, which
Oh
for
shit.
me living like in my house, that's not really that much. And I have like 20 plants, and it doesn't affect that much, and I can take showers. But if I was a family of 5 and we were all taking showers all the time every day, that would run out very quickly. Or even just
So
a small
obviously
restaurant.
you're not on a well, you're on city water. Is that
I'm on
what's
city
happening?
water. Yeah, I'm on city water,
Yeah.
but I'm
Even though
on.
you're out, you're kind of up and out off into the hills a little bit, and you're still on city water. That's so interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
there was a
And I
part
wonder,
that has the city water, and there's a part that doesn't have the city water. But given it was my first build, I wanted to take the easier route, which I may or may not regret. But capturing your own water is very challenging in a region like southwestern Colorado, just
where
because
it's
there's not
dry.
very much. Yeah, you really have to,
Yeah.
to do rain catchment in an even drier place like New Mexico. It's almost impossible. They have to have water to like truck
Yeah.
sustainable developments
You
down
have to
there.
put like those big old like, containers into the ground. You can't just like put it in
And
like a little, if you want to have all year round, you got to have it all year round, not, this
you have to
little bit
purify it.
in barrels.
You
Yeah,
have
you
to
do.
purify it,
You
because
do.
like if you just put it in a big cistern in the ground, it'll go bad. Like, because those cisterns are made out of plastic, a lot of them. And
Right.
so you also
Yes.
have to purify the water on top of collecting it. Luckily, one thing I thought about when buying the property was, how close am I to a freshwater stream? And can I walk to a freshwater stream from my house? And yes, there's one that's a 5-minute walk away, and it runs all year round. And so to me, I was like, that's a selling point, because I'm like, if shit hits the fan and the water isn't turning on, at least I could go to the clear water stream that comes directly from the Needle, the one of the tallest mountains in the whole state, and it comes right down into the backyard basically. So it's like having a resource like that in your mind is really important for planning for an event where the water gets shut off for a month. Where is your nearest source of fresh water? Where can you get it? And if you don't have fresh water, where's the closest place you can get it? Or what do you have in your inventory that you can trade somebody for water? Because that's really that's gold. That's like gold in any of these
Well, you got to think
situations.
about too that there's a bunch of people that are on your block that are going to do the same thing, and so there could be a water shortage just because of that. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but these are things that you have to think about. Like, for example, we have a creek on the property. However, people have built ponds above way above like where we are, and so it actually stops during the summer
Mhm.
months. But there is a cistern there, so we can use that if necessary. But we also have a well, so you know,
That's good.
uh, creeks are great until everybody's like, "I need water," and then they dry up very quickly, especially if you're trying to survive with food and grow food. So but yeah, this is like the things that we need to think about, like when we do you know do buildings and and move to situations and um, because it's not city water is horrible. Like I definitely feel a difference like not living off of city water anymore. And I'm glad that I have had that opportunity because you bathe in that shit. The all of it, all the chemicals that everybody pees and poops, and you're getting all of their water structure in your system. You're sharing water systems. Let's go ahead and get started with the presentation because I know that Matthew, one of the things is the water structure and how the memory of the water is really super important. I'm going to look for a couple other pictures while you talk about this because I was wanting to see those pictures where there's actually a video where this woman, she freezes, like she'll put her hand in a water glass container, right, where and then she'll put it in that freezer and even though the water moved around with that intention of her hand being in there and other things, it actually picks up. She can put it over a photograph and then put it in the freezer and it will actually adapt to that photograph. Everything she's done many different things. So let me look for that so that way I can put it in here for everybody.
So,
Let's see
so
here. I
Dr.
know I have her
Masaru
somewhere.
Emoto is kind of like a classic example of that shows us visually how water is programmable and what happens when you emit or charge water with a certain frequency. And so there's, if you really break it down, frequency is essentially it's a tone or an oscillation, or you can even put it as an intent, or it's a wave. Basically, it's a wave, and that wave can charge water. Water is chargeable, and so what Emoto did is that he was like, I wonder what happens if you take water and observe it in different natural settings, and then also observe it after you've placed intentions in on it. And so these are some examples here of what water looks like as an ice crystal in different situations. So you can see Mozart's, has a relatively symmetrical hexagonal ice crystal. And then you've got John Lennon here. This one I think has 6 or 7, 6. So a lot of these are like these hexagonal structures here. And Love has a very beautiful structure here where it's just very crystalline and pure looking. The one on the right, the Fujiwara before prayer. So that's actually, it was a polluted lake in Japan. There's big dam, and so right before the dam, this was scooped up in a cup and observed, and then he actually had some high Buddhist monks come in and do I don't know what the chant was exactly, but it was like a healing chant for 20 minutes, with these several monks. And you could see below that it recrystallized into something that was very elegant and looks a lot more symmetric than, say, the I Will Kill You, which is on the slide right next to that. And so you can see that these things of high grace and high intent, seem to have these more symmetric patterns that are a lot more adaptable to life. And these, we've talked about these before, different shapes uh, and the Salvagio frequencies, and also the geometric shapes of the universe. And these symmetric ones are much more in alignment of that. So with that said, we can actually program our water with the very easy method of using intention. And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's something that everybody can do out of water from your tap, and it can change the molecular structure of the water. And I think, Nova, that's what you were referring to with the lady with the hand. It's like her programming it with her hand and putting that intent in there to change the frequency of it. And just given how much of water is in our bodies, this is a profound thing. And relaying it back to the preparation scenario, it's important because if we get in a situation where we've got pretty nasty water, there's at least a very simple technique that can allow us to help purify the water and get it to a point where we can use it, or boil it, or drink it, or whatever it needs to be. Um, I was even told of a story of these sailors that went out, and again, this could be rumor, but they had been shipwrecked and they were on a lifeboat for days and days. And the second mate, who's one of the only ones left, was like, you got to take this seawater and you got to charge it with your intent to try to change it to fresh water. And somehow they were able to do that and row back to shore after like 10 days. And so it goes to show that it's in the power of the mind, and that we can change the vessel and the molecular structure of this element that makes up 70% of our body. It's really cool stuff.
It is, and with water, right? It's a whole other element that can be morphed. We are the architects of it. We can be the sorcerer, the alchemist, right? Of it. And so you can easily change your surrounding, your body. But because it's that powerful, you can change it negatively or positively really quick. And so we were talking earlier about taking baths, and not it's just the water coming out, but what are you listening to when you're in the bath? I started putting in like really nice
Yeah, exactly.
music, instead of like not a time for like conspiracy podcasts. Maybe that's when you take a break because you're surrounded by the water, right? And so I have all these candles.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, all these
You'd be all stressed the fuck out.
yeah, so the sound, and it could be like maybe even somebody doing sound baths. I might like use electronic device to have sound go in there, but at least nothing negative, or because you're affecting.
I do like the Sophia Hertz and binaural beats, and I do all the usually like wah 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 wah. It has like the bass is at a different frequency, so it's like constant. It's a pulsation. That's what I usually do. And when you go in, you submerge
Yeah,
yourself, your
feel
whole
it.
body vibrates.
You can see the water kind of vibrate too. And so that's a good way to kind of like play around with it. And so when you're drinking, that's why people, and that's also with food. One of my friends who's a Pisces, all water, and then also a cook, like only good vibes in the kitchen because he's cooking. It's not just like the vibes of the food, but like the water that's being boiled and like all this food preparation, right? It goes into the food. That's why people bless their meal. You're blessing what you're taking in. And so the water element, you talked about, both of you talked about these experiments. I make my moon water, and I have this I made this years ago. I have this glass bottle, and I have affirmations on them. So you could do something like
Oh, that's
that
cool.
too. And so I drink it after the full moon, a little bit at a time or a lot at a time, and it's been blessed by the moon with these like positive words on it. It's also the same with like making gem elixirs. You're capturing the frequency of a crystal into the water with the sun and the moon. You can capture that frequency in the water, and that's how people make gem elixirs. It's really, and if you look at snow, I love snow. I play in the snow. The same of this geometry of the water makes the snowflakes until you start seeing the chemicals coming in the snowflakes, right? The geometry of the snowflakes start to change. Beautiful stuff. Water flowers.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Just another note to add on to the listening frequencies too. Intent behind the frequencies being used in those productions is also important. And since we're all different beings, it's like some frequencies sound really good to some people, and other ones that are just like, oh, get away, like that sounds awful and terrible. And so it is a little malleable in terms of, as long as there's a good intent behind it, you can have a good experience with it. But it's not limited to one. I think I thought that when I first got into everything, I was like, oh, 11 11 7 12 love frequency, and I was like, that must be the one. But it's it's not limited to just that. It's there's many frequencies.
Well, you got to be careful with which ones you're choosing too, because online you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, you don't. It
On
could be
YouTube.
programmed in the wrong way.
Yeah,
And I've had
100%.
those happen
And
too,
that's
where I've
when you can
listened
feel
to it
it.
for 20 minutes, and afterwards I'm like, I don't know, this said it was supposed to help me out, and I feel like I have a headache now. And so, yeah, you do have to be careful. It's a
Yeah, know your
good point.
source. Try to find sound baths, or something like that in your
Like,
area.
just prayer bowls are always guaranteed.
Yeah,
Prayer
and the
bowls guaranteed.
Mhm.
frequency tuning forks. Also, they've been a lot of
Mm.
people have been doing sound baths or this kind of thing in water at hot springs or at swimming pools, right? To get people to connect with the sound, because the water is a great element to move frequency with. Like it, a wave goes through it quite nicely
You know,
above.
I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but I've noticed it's much easier to meet and talk and socialize with people in water versus not in water. Like, comparing going to hot
What do you mean?
springs, it seems like people in water
Oh,
and
I
like
see
a
what
nice
you're saying.
water situation, like I've noticed people just open up and will have a conversation with you that you may have never expected. Somebody that wouldn't be on your radar as somebody you'd normally want to talk to. Everybody's kind of it's a different charge because the bodies are all in the same soup together. Um, versus,
Mhm.
say you're out in the air or out in the dry. I mean, sure, it's, but people kind of tend to keep to themselves a little more. The water kind of unifies that human auric field into a soup. So I've noticed it seems to be more of a sociable setting. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but the
You
water
can, just depending on where you are. Like, sometimes people don't want you to talk. Like, I personally don't really want to chit chat, but if I want to move to, like, a pool that, that is designated for that, then sure, why not? But yeah, I hear what you're saying. People do actually talk a little more. And, but I know at Ojo Caliente, people were like, shh.
yeah, you
And,
get
like, get
they
your
walk
cell phone
around
out
with
of
the
here. What are you doing with your cell phone? Because the people would have their cell phones, and I didn't like that at all.
they walk
And,
around with signs that say shh on them. It's kind of funny.
yeah, shh, quiet. And when they just need to be happy, be quiet, or get out. Because it's true. Like, I mean, maybe during the day, but, like when when it's hot out or whatever, like that's weird. Like, I've been to hot springs when it's hot out. That is so weird. Like, what's the point of that? But, yeah, it just depends on where you are, and if they're natural, but, and if they're clean too. So I miss the hot springs. Damn it, it's been a long time. Where I'm at, there's like one hot springs, and when during the pandemic, they bleached it. It was
Oh,
horrible. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
yeah.
So,
Well,
anyways,
that's no good.
yeah, it wasn't good at all here.
What about all the natural minerals in it? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, they're like, oh, COVID, we got to bleach everything. Like, really? No, you don't. It's just
Yeah,
a
that's a good
vibration.
one.
Again, going back to vibration and why people get sick.
Mm.
Hmm. It's not because
Uh,
of,
Good
who
a
who
flu
vibration.
or
agree?
whatever. It's a vibration.
Good vibration. I love that music when I was like, when I went to the pool, it was good vibrations and awesome, like pool party music. Because when I was on the ranch, like we were listening to country music or 60s music, like my dad's music. So I'd go there and it was all good vibrations. And you're in the pool. I see what you're saying.
Vibrations.
I really hope I don't get kicked out because you guys keep on rubber banding. So I think it's me. Um, but anyways, yeah. So the power of water. I mean, it's it's what probably helps us speak our through our vocal cords. It also is like how you can wash off all the negative energy, and then you go from hot water to cold water, and it helps your endocrine system, your I think it's your mitochondria actually, when you do that, and it helps your immune system. And these are things that have been going on forever. You guys ever seen the monkeys that hang out in the hot springs, like I think it's in Indonesia somewhere? I mean, even the animals will go for it. They know. that these places are, have been there forever, and we should have access to them all the time, if you ask me. I get that people have bought property and stuff like that, but it's still like you can't put a price on water, and that's what's happening. You can put a price on water, but it's going to be at the cost of humans, and our
Or
way of
$2
life.
at your local vending machine.
Hmm.
Which is crazy to think, something that we're made up of. You can see in this graph here that like we are like over 50% in all categories of water. And that is hugely substantial when you think about what we just talked about, how everything is programmable. So, when your vibration is like in a state of hatred and anger and fear, when fear is the big one, then you're charging yourself with those states of being, and the water inside of your body is being programmed to that. So that's where we got to flip the script. And so not only are we going to be programming tap water, the sink, but also programming the water within our body. Everything you see here, then more, from our bloodstream to our brain, and most importantly to our heart, programming it so that our body is functioning in a coherent way. And these are little tricks that we can do to help our bodies go through these times that are tough, because they will be tough as well. And we don't want to forget that something that people can charge us for and have water rights for is something that's within our body and that we have a right to exist with. I mean,
Well, this is coming back to the movie Dune, right? Where water was like very, very scarce, but the Fremen had it hidden, and they had a plan, a plan to bring back the planet to life, because the planet was basically dead. And when you died, they took your water, and and they used it for whatever, like especially like they had like a duel or whatever. Whoever won would get that person's water because it's necessary, or else you
Spoiler
just
alert.
shrivel up.
Well,
Oh, if you haven't seen Dune, that's not my problem. You guys got to watch Dune on your own.
yeah,
or read
and
the books.
plus it's a commitment. We didn't spoil alert nothing.
Yeah, well, it's also think about like Dune. I mean, all of kind of like what we did with the Game of Thrones. It's kind of the same story with, Dune, where you have all these political figures fighting over water, and they kill each other over it, and there's a whole like, it's this whole fucking thing, man, and we are in a water crisis. I remember seeing somebody on Telegram just recently. It was like, oh, I don't know what the big problem is because you can pull water out of the air. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Do you know how to make a work saw? I don't know most people that do not know how to do that.
What if there's
So
never a cloud again?
that's
Another cloud. We've had.
well, you could still pull water out of the air. They did this in
dry.
Africa.
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
They're called work saws.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it. It looks like a big pineapple. The work saws, and so there is a technology to do it. It's just like, do you know how to build it? And or do you have property you can put it on where you're not going to be told to, where it's eminent domain or blah blah blah. I mean, there's so many factors today. Like, I know that most people probably could not live out in the rural area just because they can't fucking afford it right now. Like, having to drive to the grocery store instead of back in the day when you had a horse and cart where you just feed the fucking horse fuel. Now it's like you gotta fucking drive a car. And so how many people have a horse and buggy? I have a horse. I don't have a buggy, but I can make one. I don't know how, but I'll fucking figure it out. If
Well,
I have
there is
to.
like a simple survival hack that I remember learning if you're stuck in a bind. I think I remember learning this from like a Bear Grylls survival show. But if you're like really stuck in a situation where you don't have water, if you have a tarp or a tent or something plastic, you can kind of build like a small umbrella like structure, and have it hugging close to the ground, and like put a stick in it or something like that, and let it sit overnight, and it will grab condensation, and it will condensate on the inside of it overnight, especially with the sun eventually coming up and hitting it. And so, I mean, again, that is not efficient, but if you're like desperate for water and you've got a big tarp, that might save your butt. And it's little techniques like that, that having that in your back pocket might be really valuable if you're looking for liquid gold.
Well, and again, it's all about capturing, right? Capturing water, creating water. These are elements that are essential, and like air. But that's also consciousness. We're breathing in consciousness. And there's the ether. And all of these lucid elements need containers, right? They need a container to be in. And so even all these organs that you have on the slide, and for those who are listening, the brain, the kidney, the lungs, the eyes, heart, muscles, right? These are kind of containers. They hold maybe not specifically water, but think about the eyes. It's hydrolonic acid. What people are injecting into their lips is the hydrolonic acid from cow eyes. Like it's this is water being in certain containers, and those containers are a certain membrane made out of other elements to in order to like contain it, or even if they like are able to absorb it. We can be like sponges. That's why even SpongeBob SquarePants, he represents us. He lives.
In a
He's
pineapple under the sea.
That's
SpongeBob
hilarious.
SquarePants. But just like the emojis or Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, it's all
They're
like
all yellow.
exactly in different
The
shapes,
sun.
different
The
containers.
sun. Yeah.
And they like right, so
Um,
very absorbent. And so what's weird is we can go play in water. We can't breathe in water. We can, but we are air, earth beings, but yet we store all this like beautiful reservoir of water within ourselves. And it's not just and
well,
one last point, like things like drinking water, drinking alcohol, they're solvents. So a lot of times if you're just drinking water, alcohol, like mostly water, if you're drinking too much water, you're diluting yourself in a weird way,
right.
even though we're
Well, I think too, I remember it was like
there's more
80%
minerals.
that we were water, but people are now like, oh, when you get older, you don't need as much. But well, let's think about this too. Like the food that we've been eating in the United States, however, it's not really food, so it's actually made us, sick, and so we might be allergic to to water to a certain degree because our bodies have been so attacked by pesticides and glyphosate and all this other shit, that when you eat a watermelon, you might feel differently, because your system is all messed up, because you can get water in a lot of fruits and vegetables, as we know this, but who knows if we can even sustain at the levels that it used to be. So I think it's really interesting that I was always told that it was 80%. Now it's 70% all of a sudden. Like, when did that change?
Well, and even look at the earth.
And
The earth is called a water planet, but yet like they say 80% of the surface is water, yet it is of course we don't know about like the inner earth, but an iron core. Like it is made out of earth. And I think it's funny that it's referenced as a water planet, even though it's earth. To me, that's the most abundant element out of the four, right? And then water covers the surface only. Yes, there was water inside the earth too. And I think what's interesting is I've talked about this, I won't talk about long at all, but a lot of North America, I think, are old tree trunks and tree roots. And this is where a lot of springs come out of, and waterfalls. Like, where's this water coming from otherwise? It's like a constant flow of some of these waterfalls. And I believe these are the ancient trees, and there's water stored beneath them, and there it's like a funnel and a tunnel coming back up. I don't know. It's kind of cool. So
Well, I have a video on the next
yeah,
slide if you want to share it. I couldn't find exactly what I wanted to put in, but I was like, "Ooh, this is a good little clip." Um, can we hear it?
yes,
Is it gonna play?
it's,
I see it but don't hear it.
Why are we not hearing it?
we
Well,
are Nova.
oh, you are okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Water is the liquid form of crystals. Yeah, I like that. And
I
even your
couldn't hear
hair.
it at all. I didn't. I'm having issue on this end, so
Yeah, we heard it, and so I was like, "Shut
good.
up!" So
Well,
yeah,
I couldn't hear it. Fucking A, man. I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
um, so I don't know if that was your or Matthew's video. So I'm like, well, if
I
y'all
put
would,
it in there because I was
okay,
looking for that woman, and she's got some pictures, but I'm not going to be able to find it right away. It's actually the language, the living language of water, is the name of her book, and like the actual cover of the book does have, um, you know, a picture of like one of her pictures of like many things that she's captured. But I'd have to dig around a little bit more. Her name is, what's her name? Let's go back. Let me look. Uh, Veda Austin. And it's really cool. I think you can go into YouTube and look at, some of her. Also, I could have done that. Got a YouTube video from that, but I would check that out real quick because it's just a reminder that our consciousness, water is consciousness. It literally is memory. And so if we decide to fuck it up even further, Mariah and I were talking about this yesterday, like how there was a dust bowl before. Does anybody here in this room know what a dust bowl is? What it was? That was when
I think we should
in the
all know that.
30s, in the 30s, they did over farming and they fucked up the land,
and then the
and
winds
it became
came,
a dust bowl. And the
and then the
winds
winds
came.
came. So when the winds come and
And
there's nothing to hold that top soil down,
topsoil,
it
yeah.
will blow away. And they're still doing this farming technique today where they just, and that's why they crop rotate.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like you don't get nutrients. Like the American diet, normal diet, you're nutrient deficient
We're eating like
because
cows
of
too.
exactly what
I
you're talking
fed
about.
cows. I fed cows. We're kind of eating like we're just one step above them, right? They might be processing some of these grains and these grasses a little bit more, but to bulk them up, we feed them like all the feeding lots
Corn,
of corn,
barley, soy,
soy.
like
Hmm.
things that are not even, this is what they're spending money on though, to water, and it's usually pesticide, and so
So
that water structure that Matthew was talking about earlier, you'll see that it's not going to have that geometry. It's going to be splattered, it's going to be distorted. I mean, think about the planet right now. Think about people in general and how they react, their emotions, right? The emotions is the water element. 100% the water element. And so when you see someone being emotional or out of control, you might think they're crazy, and you're like, chill out, man. It's literally the water in their structure that is like, is unable to, because they're working with that watermelon element. They're actually, that's part of the telluric realm that they're trapping into their bodies. I just want to say you've been listening to Poppy's Field Project. We've been going for almost like an hour. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And we're going to continue to talk about, we started getting into data centers a little while ago. And it was really cool because it started to explode. Um, you know, I personally didn't know about them. A lot of people didn't know about them, and it was really shocking to find out that this is actually something that has been under the radar for a very long time. And I didn't even think about like data centers that that where does Google put all their information? Where does Amazon put all their information? So going back into the water element, this is actually the Ogallala Aquifer, and this is in the high plains. You can see that it actually covers 8 states. It has South Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Texas. And I didn't have the time, but there are data centers. The majority of them are in Nebraska. There are a bunch now, though, in Texas. Actually, Texas has the most out of the entire United States. And so this aquifer is approximately 174,000 square miles across these four states, and it provides drinking water for millions of people, and it supports about 30% of the U.S. irrigated agriculture. So you're looking at about like 35 billion annually. And so this is a lot of water being wasted on pesticide food that is, wheat, which wheat, as we know, a lot of people are intolerant because not only because is it over processed, but it also has pesticides in it. So, like these corn, wheat, and cotton crops actually is another thing, is cotton. Instead, back in the day, it was fucking Lenin, which is what? Hemp seed? And but because they made hemp illegal, I don't remember when it was, but hemp is linen is way much better for you to be wearing. It's a higher frequency, it breathes better. When you don't sweat as much. So there's been this cotton, it's like this slave system thing still happening. Like, even though there aren't, black people in cotton fields, breaking their backs over the cotton fields anymore, it's still like this big oil thing, right? Cotton is, instead of actually hemp seed. It's all these fucking organizations and corporations and old families lines that are ruling all of this. So this aquifer is currently facing a severe depletion crisis due to this excessive pumping for irrigation, as well as, because what is happening is it's exceeding the actual recharge that it needs, because the one in California, it's like thousands and thousands of years old, and it's almost gone, and it takes thousands of years to actually make it happen. And what will end up happening is that entire area will sink, okay, just like it did in Mexico City. That is built on an aquifer, and it's sinking. So this aquifer holds like about 3 trillion gallons of water, and it recharges at a rate of only about like 1 inch per year on average. So taking about like 6,000 years to refill it naturally. Okay. And we're talking about, um, billions of water being pumped out daily to cool off these data centers, okay? Because they can't, and it's not about the energy, not just about the energy to process it. It's about cooling it off. It's like a nuclear power plant where you have to have water to cool it down because it's so freaking intense. So, in many years, in particular, like Texas and western Kansas, these water levels have dropped significantly, and Texas wells have fallen by over 250 feet. And parts of western Kansas have lost about 50% of their aquifer depth. So you're also looking at a 52% decline in water levels by 2060. That's not very far. Okay. I may not be here by then. Many of us probably may not be. But this is a 30% access point of Kansas where it'll run dry. And Texas State Water Plan also warns that the water in the certain areas will be gone within 20 to 30 years. So people, if you're eating like McDonald's hamburgers or whatever, I know that that's not actually probably, coming from the United States, probably coming from like the Amazon. But what you consume is, and what you purchase in the world is actually affecting aquifers all around the place, everywhere. So it's not just here in the United States. But this is like one of the major mass ones. If you want to go to the next slide, unless you have something to say about that.
I apologize. And we can get into this later too, but like, this is not one of the only places where the water is dropping fast. People are sucking up just as fast, like for how many years? And then these data centers come, we're in big trouble. If you live,
yeah, we're in big trouble.
So the Hoover Dam is another example. The lake, Lake Mead, once it gets down past a certain amount, like I don't think supposedly the dam is structured not to hold. It is dropping about a foot every 5 to 7 days.
Wow. Yeah, that's not surprising.
And it's already really, really low. It's really, really hot. So these are like, the water is being just sucked away from us, and it's not just going to be us looking for water to drain.
And it's going towards a bunch of data centers because there's already like 3,000 of them. I thought there was 10,000. I have to go back and look at it, but because I'm like, did I just switch a timeline, because I thought it was 10,000 and then I saw like 3,000. So I'm like, I'm wondering if they're actually telling the truth.
Some data on the data centers in a slide coming up, so I'm sure we'll get to it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to the next one. This has to do with Nebraska still. And this, what happens here is you have irrigated, organic farming. I was thinking about organic farming. And that this is actually where there's actually a steadily increase of like 100 certified organic crops in this area with livestock as well. So Kansas and Texas are also host, these organic farms. And so it's not just these massive farms, which actually most of it has been bought up by Bill Gates, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But these aquifers alone are not aggregated in public to the USDA. As it reports. So the Midwest Organic Service Association, it's the certifier that lists thousands of operations across the states and these high plains. So looking at the geographic overlap of water sources versus water source, right? So there's these major data centers located in eastern Nebraska, like Omaha, Papillion, Bellevue, and Lincoln, are an area where it sits on top of the eastern edge of the Ogallala aquifer. And so they often rely on, aquifers like that are more shallow, like for example, like the ones that the Missouri River, and the local precipitation actually helps. So these are deep bedrock aquifers that, rather than this fossil. This is a fossil Ogallala water. I hate, it's such a weird word. Ogallala. I'm sure it's a native, some kind of native word. I wish it would. I bet you it probably has something to do with
We
water.
need to record that for South Park.
Well, because Walla Walla,
Ogallala.
Washington, it means many waters, and so it has ALLALA, and I'm like, oh, so that it has to be water.
Yeah.
And the word "o" it reminds me of the sign, the frequency sign. So, or the original, it might be the original water source actually for the United States.
Well, it's
I think that's
interesting
kind of
too
what
because
that
it's
verse
like
says.
really we're gonna have this yin yang in the United States because for us in the West, water is scarce, but on the East, in the South, water is a problem. It is overabundant. There is way too much water. They got flooding. Then so like
Well, you
even in
can't drink
Texas,
that water,
well, but they
you
can use it
know.
for data centers. It's like there's
Yeah.
certain uses you could use it for, and so you've got two divide. Even in just Texas alone, one state, on one half it is like Houston, it's flooding on a regular basis, and then you've got El Paso, which is in a drought condition, and so
Mhm.
really the problem is going to be trying to figure out how to get water from one place to the other because obviously like the aquifers like Ogallala that we're talking about, they don't last forever, and eventually there will be restrictions on them because there's one topic that we could get into is water rights, and then there are rights that are in place, and if they're honored, certain places get cut off. In fact, there was actually a really big one that just happened in New Mexico, because New Mexico relies on the Rio Grande River basin, which is drying up. Albuquerque's had a dry summer for multiple years, where the whole river dries up, and so this problem's been getting worse and worse.
Wow,
And recently, they
crazy.
actually there was a tightening that went to a federal judge that actually went to observe the water rights because people in Texas were like, "We're not even getting any water." And so they had to go to the right holders, which are these people in Texas, and they had to say, sorry, New Mexico, but you have to shed 10% of your water consumption and you have to give it to Texas. And so, and it was
Mm.
signed into federal bill or went through the federal justice system. And so now New Mexico has to shut its water production down by like 10%, which is massive. That's huge. And so we're going to see more
Yeah,
and
and that's
more of that.
where they have quite a few farms there too in New Mexico. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Texas does too, but it's probably more like soy and shit like that. I don't know
Mostly
about their crops there
ranching.
so much, but
There's not much
yeah,
in West
for
Texas
cows,
for
for cattle. And that was
cows.
one of the arguments, right, with beef is that it's the water consumption for, you know, for the cattle. That's a part of it. But again, a lot of our beef is coming from China. It's not coming from the United States. Like if you're going to Walmart, I can guarantee, or you're eating at McDonald's and all these, fast food places, which if you're still doing that, I feel sorry for you. You probably should just like go throw yourself off a cliff or something because you're making yourself sick. I don't go throw yourself off a cliff, but you're literally like slowly killing your soul. And we all are to a certain degree because these eastern facilities that I was talking about, like the major operations like Google, Papillion, Lincoln, and Omaha in Nebraska, and Meta, also Papillion, are these areas where the Ogallala is present, and where these municipal water systems are the blended source of rely on younger rechargeable groundwater. So we're looking at central western facilities, that by the Sequitur Edge in Kearney, which is like central Nebraska. It sits directly
Arnie.
over the core of Ogallala Aquifer. And this location raises more direct concerns about this water system and usage because the specific well sources for cooling are not always publicly disclosed. So, a lot of it's going underneath the carpet and, the public is not aware of it. So this technology, for these data centers is, fairly unavailable. The potential impact is significant to the public that day because all they keep on doing is selling like, oh, you know, AI is going to save humanity and it's going to be free. That's what they were selling it at the beginning, and then they fucked They fucking like literally manipulated everybody into thinking that it was going to be something that was going to serve humanity, but now it's at a something way bigger is actually happening from what's happening, because the water consumption in a single large data center can consume up to 5 million gallons of water per day for cooling. That's a lot. And so, people are arguing that this exacerbates the aquifer's depletion, and it's going to stress out agriculture. So these new facilities, like there's the Blade Room, which markets in Nebraska. They claim to use air cooled hybrid systems that reduce or eliminate water usage. That can draw this water out, but I'm not buying it. Where's that water? Where's the energy coming from? And the one thing that could happen because of this is free energy sources. That's something that Trump and the Trump administration is going to have to look at right now, because if the free energy source does finally come out, big oil is going to be pissed the fuck off, right? And they rule everything. Okay, pretty much everything. And they're going to kill people. I mean, they have been already, as we know this, like the technologies. So think about, this is a possibility where free technology, free energy systems will finally come out, but they're going to be controlled by big oil. Otherwise, they're going to probably create a war. I mean, this is how screwed up this whole system is. Like, it's just not going to just switch hands overnight. It's going to continue like this drama. It's like, fucking A, man, just let us fucking be human beings, for fuck's sake. Let's go ahead and go to the next one too. And there's actually these theories where there's these recent wildfires that happened in March in 2026, that this was land that was cleared for data centers over the Ogallala aquifer. And so, experts, confirm that the fires were due to like dry conditions and wind and not development plots, but who fucking knows, man? I mean, and so this is like going to dry out. If we go back to this map, it's going to dry out the entire Midwest. And this is where the Dust Bowl is going to be created. And that means that everybody is going to have to live in separate parts of the United States on the eastern and western coasts. And there aren't going to be smart cities. This whole 15-minute city thing, I call bullshit on. That was just a distraction to get everybody like all riled up. What's really going on is Bill Gates has been buying up fucking property, and other people probably, I'm not sure what, but buying up farmland. And why do they want to do it? Data centers. It has nothing to do with farming. Like, they're going to get rid of it.
Oh, totally. No, yeah, they don't want us to eat. If they do, they want us to eat each other, or like we're barely one up from the cows and pigs.
And eat
We're
bugs, right?
basically the same DNA. And so well, all this stuff is going on. I believe the 15-minute cities are a thing, because like you have choices, and you can like live like savages out in the prairies, amongst these data centers, fighting for your own land and food, or living in luxury in these 15-minute cities. I think that both will be existing. And again, happy thoughts, so that we don't like create these prophecies that they want, but to know the game, we're the players. And so I think it's your choice, but it's basically you will be in this digital euphoria, or you will, we'll be going back in time a little bit out here in the prairies, at least in like these type of states in the middle America, right? Where like the coasts were a different story. A century ago, where if you went to the center of the country, there's going to be trouble. It was a whole other. It was a battlefield. And so I kind of almost see it rhyme like that. Maybe I don't want it to. I was kind of putting up my 3 fingers. I think it's 3. Just it to me. It reminds me of the Hunger Games, and all these programming movies anyway. But think
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
they
Shows. They've been doing it for a
different.
while. I was just talking to Matthew about this today.
Yeah, the state lines, the states might change, the borders will change. We were talking about everything changing with these huge planets and like the cycle, the cyclical life. We don't live in a linear timeline. It's cyclical, right? So it keeps kind of coming back around.
Right.
And so it's definitely rhyming to that. It's gonna be, I think, Wild West a little bit, like where everybody's going, like where the city is where all the sophisticated people are. And if you're out of the city, it's gonna be the Wild West. And different districts are gonna happen. They change borders more frequently than we probably can remember because we only live so far.
And I
So
think there'll be
Do you remember
middle
that
grounds
one
too
show that
between all of them. You know, there'll be places where, certain regions will say no, we're not gonna, like, we're advanced enough, but we're not gonna deal with AI, and so there'll be different factions. I mean, it's gonna be
they
like
won't
that
care. They
show
don't
that
care. Yeah, people
you
can
know.
protest all they want. They do
Hey
not care already.
Matthew.
It's already done. All these data centers are gonna go
Matthew,
up
do you
regardless.
remember that
We'll get mad. Yeah. I don't think
do you
anybody can say
remember that show that we watched? Where
Which
like
one?
where America lost the war, World War II, and it
Oh
was
yeah,
split. The West in the East were split between Japan and Germany.
I do remember that
Yeah?
one.
I
I don't remember what the show was called, but it reminds me of
Jericho.
this because the Midwest was like the Wild West, and you had to be careful crossing through it, because I think this is like where the actual United States, like, people were still kind of, I gotta go back and watch that show. I don't remember what it was called, but I
Yeah, I
bet you
remember the
anything they're
Rocky Mountains
probably
were like
telling
the
us a
border and
tale there.
everything. Yeah, that was an interesting show, and I remember it sticking out because like their headquarters was in Canyon City, and I'm like there often. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the divider
Was
of
it
the
called
world.
Jericho? Jericho ringing a bell? No.
I don't remember the
No,
name of
I
it.
don't remember what it was called.
Never mind.
It came out like in 2000. God, that must have been, was that 2019 or 2020?
Oh wow.
Because you
So
came to
COVID
visit,
it
times.
and
was the last
yeah, it
one
was
then.
during COVID times. I think it was 2020 because we were watching it when I was with Rudy. And if you go to if you go back to the next slide, it reminded me like this conspiracy of like the burning of like I hate that word conspiracy, but the burning of Rabbit Fire. So I went and looked it up. Now, nowhere in Rabbit, because we talked about Rabbit Fire and in a few podcasts like a few months ago, and but I do believe that there's a possibility that this fire also was a part of that. But because of the Juancito Valley groundwater basin, it's one of the critical water resources that are attached to California. But there's no significant boom center, data center in California, or like it is in Texas. But Silicon Valley does. But there's constraints to this Juan Cinto groundwater basin, and there's strict management due to like overdraft concerns. And the Eastern Municipal Water District, they manage the sustainability and like this industrial projects. They make sure that water intensive like data centers are difficult to be approved. They were prepared for this shit, and so I think that maybe they were trying to go in and like possibly burn it down in 2023, because that was kind of like when they were really pushing and making a lot of these fucking things. They started kind of in 2021. Trump supported it, and like, you know whether he supported it or not, it fucking happened underneath his administration. Plus, as far as like uh, Al Gore. Okay, so it's not just Trump; it's like all of them. We got to go back to like it's all of these governments. So this whole area, it remains free of data center development because they have protection on it. And but the but the concerns in like Lacey Lakeview, Texas, or Kearney, Nebraska, there's aggressive land acquisition and planning for massive data centers in campuses. But in California, this regulatory hurdle, groundwater usage in the San Jacinto Basin, it's preventing these similar projects. So this is good. This is like Lakeview Moreno Valley corridor. But again, the one thing is that a lot of their water also too is starting to disappear. So I wanted to throw
Well,
that
yeah,
in
they've
before we
already got
go
major
into the.
restrictions, and so that's again what comes back to the point of it being so, we're so vulnerable with water exposure, and we have to treat it like such a valuable resource because, certain places that were, water was bread and butter, like the entire agricultural region of Central California. These places, they don't want that to dry up. They realize what that's going to do, and they're like, okay, well, we've got to preserve what's already here. We're already witnessing losing like several feet of land, like literally, it's gone down multiple feet since the 70s. They're like, crap, we can't even do data centers without losing it even more. And so they're like, okay, well, the Midwest has a bunch of resources. I mean, if anything, they should just build them in the Rust Belt cities along like the Great Lakes or something, like all those cities like Columbus and Detroit and like that. They've got fresh water up the wazoo and a bunch of giant abandoned buildings that used to be factories. It's like, why don't you do it there? That makes sense to me.
People that live there, they don't want that to happen there either. Once
I
again,
mean, we don't want it to happen anywhere, but we're the problem. We're the ones why it's happening because we're the consumers of data, right? Google and Amazon. I know that Mariah has a Proton Mail email. Who else here has a Google email? Who else here uses Google to sign into things? Who here orders from Amazon? Exactly. And so it's going towards the consumer. We are literally going to be poisoning ourselves by ordering and using these companies. It's not a joke. And we're not even aware of it. I don't know which. Let's go to the water and data center cooling system. I think is this one yours, Matthew? That slide.
Well, what's interesting, I want to throw in there a couple years ago, all the trail derails, all these random fires. Nebraska just had a bunch of fires.
Yeah, in Ohio.
Away land for these places. All those derailments. I think like if there was a bunch of either fires or chemical spills, now they can claim that land, and so because there was where all the trains derailed now, it was a lot in 1 month. There's something up.
One quick thing to note about Midwestern fires versus fires that we get here in like Colorado or the West, there is a significant difference due to the ecology of it. And luckily, this is a benefit of the plains is due to the fires, quickness with it being mostly grassland. The fires are quick and fierce, and they're gone quickly. Unlike dense forested areas, like where big trees are burning for weeks and weeks and spreading ambers. It's like when a forest or a prairie fire happens, it's like it zips through and it's done. If it happens in like Paradise, California, which is like choked with pine trees that haven't been mitigated, it's going to burn for a long time because there's a lot of fuel, dense fuel that's been there for a while. So for people living in the Midwest, they've got that advantage to where it's like if you've got a good 100-foot yard, like if you're out in the rural area where a fire could happen, if you got 100 yards or 100 feet of protection around your house, you're going to be okay. It's just being smart and wise. But yeah, the derailments, the fact that they made a show about it and then it derailed in that town, it's like, could it be more obvious?
Could it be more obvious? I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if we're on what slide we're on because it's today my internet is a little weird. So I can't tell. I apologize.
On the Looney Tunes.
I apologize if we are. Oh yeah, so we are okay. Yeah, so if we want to move to the next one because it's 7:19. I just want to say y'all been listening to Poppy's Fair Project. We're probably going to go over the 7:30, and I'm probably not going to be opening the chat tonight just because I didn't get much sleep today or last night. So unless Mariah and Matthew want to, but I know Matthew's out, having some fun over in the Bahamas. So, but yeah, so let's continue on with this, everybody. So we get together each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, or no, Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. And we're talking about water and data centers and what the structure of water does and what could possibly happen to humanity if data centers take control of everything. And that we are now realizing that data centers are a part of the major problem of like what's happening in the United States, and we're supporting it. We don't know about it.
Yeah. I was curious, so I did a little research. I was like, well, what are the data center, like, why are they using so much water? And it's to cool down the servers. And if you have a laptop like mine, which is like, you guys can hear it when I don't have my mic plugged in,
Yeah, you
it's
got to cool it, right?
the fans, which are trying to cool the computer down, are like, they're trying to cool it
Yeah.
down because it gets hot. And so that's exactly what's happening in these data centers. So these are the kind of the two main methods here of how conventional data centers are cooled down. One is through the air conditioning, basically, where they just basically use aircon and HVAC systems to pump cool air into the rooms. And this is what was done with like a lot of the earlier data centers. And so, you know, the ones like built up in New York for like IBM and AT&T and like a lot of those original founding big data centers that are holding like phone numbers and all that stuff. And so that method has kind of become a little insufficient. And the reasoning for that is because of how efficient we've gotten at creating very, very condensed microchips. The chips have gotten smaller, the circuits have gotten closer together, and so they create more heat in a tinier environment. And so fans kind of going around the sides aren't really cooling them enough, and they lose their efficiency the hotter they get. So now they have evaporative cooling, and then also this air handler loop is basically kind of like your air conditioning unit, or like a swamp cooler, where essentially there's the water is cooled down, and then it's piped through, or basically the water's forced. I'm sorry, the air is forced through a cool chamber, giving cold air to an area. And then in very advanced methods, they actually have tubing and piping that has chilled water going through the data racks, but that's a really expensive method. However, it's a closed loop system, so although expensive, it uses the least amount of water and is the most efficient. But it's massively more expensive than just kind of using a more traditional HVAC system or like similar system to what your house would use. And so the amount of heat that is created, it has to be open enough for it to actually get cool air back into these really hot racks. I mean, you can see in this image, they're all stacked on top of each other. So behind the glass, they can get up to hundreds of degrees and even melt, like the parts can melt if they got hot enough. So that's why Nova was saying earlier, it's like a nuclear power plant in a way where it will, if it gets too hot, the components can fuse together or just massively slow down. And then, your data center is going to be inefficient. It's like when your computer's too hot and you're trying to run a bunch of programs and it's just glitching the hell out, and that's what'll happen. And then Google will be down and Amazon will be down and your shipment of Q-tips won't be in for 3 weeks. So
Oh, those cues. Oh, those cues. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, and that's what it really is bothersome, is that everybody's so worried about the Q team and what they say. Like they're not even realizing that this is happening. Remember I told you guys I was in a group that I got kicked out of. Um, and there were a lot of them were Q supporters, and then when was talking to the main person, she was like, I hope data centers aren't real. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're already
Real, it's
happening.
not a fair, like dragons are real, even lady. Like catch up. Like they're
I know, hello.
there.
You're
They're
like, and again, this is going back to that spiritual thing that Matthew and I had we had a discussion about spiritualism, and these people are like, oh, don't even talk about, you're so negative. I can't even hear what you're
okay.
saying
Well,
because I'm just like, no, 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 no. I'm sharing information that you need to know. This is not about doom and
Exactly.
gloom. This is not about me like projecting out what's in the world, I'm like, it's already fucking there. You just don't know about it. And now it's going to get more extensive. Like, and it has something to do with something way more than collecting our data for picking up toilet paper or Q-tips or porn, whatever. Because even I'm sure there's a data center for porn. I mean, think about it. Like all of this consumption in the digital, and on top of that, we're talking about the digital currency. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna like this is what they're preparing for, is these new systems that we're gonna have to comply to. Um,
Are
let
they
me see.
real?
Let's go ahead and go to the next one because we're at 7:25, and I kind of want to just keep going, keep it going. So we have like a map here of the data center power map, and these are the
So
10 states, the top 10. It looks like. Go ahead,
yeah,
Matthew.
and so I looked this up and I saw that because I was curious like which states had the most data centers, and you were right about Texas, and Virginia was one that came up too, and I guess that makes sense with DC being so close by there. But I didn't see Nebraska up there. You can kind of see that whole region is currently X'd out for current consumption in 2026. And you can go to the website down here. I put the link down at the bottom of
I have
this
a different
slide.
one
Um,
that I posted,
and
and it shows a different one where it shows
but
you that actually Texas has more than all of them. So this
yeah,
one's
this
not
one
up to
was
date.
based on the current power consumption. So maybe yours was like current projects
Mm.
projected to be completed or something. Because there's a lot of
Yeah,
this
that could be a
doesn't include
possibility.
this doesn't include current projects, and I think one of the other slides in here somewhere has all the projects. Maybe one of you guys put that in there, and there's so many. Even in the remote San Luis Valley where I live, there was one proposed out there. Luckily, we shut that down. We actually wrote a mandatorium changing the code status in our whole county because we're like, no, for now at least we're temporarily blocking it because there's not a lot of water there. But a lot of places are like, hey, we're rural and we need money, and Intel's going to come in and supply jobs, and so they cave under pressure for that extra finance.
Temporary jobs.
Mm-hmm. It's not a
And
lot
then
though,
you're going to
because
have to move after that. You're going to have to sell your property for half the cost. That's part of the plan. And and good luck, because the only person that's going to want to buy it are these data centers. Nobody's going to want to
And
live there.
this was like when the railroad, I think there was the Underground Railroad for a long time, especially if it was covered by some of it, the mud flood. But when the railroad was coming through, right, they did the same thing, like, yo, this is on the line. So this is also when it became a little bit more Wild Wild West. Like, it's coming through. Data centers are already there. And the people that are buying the land, or they might disguise it as being something else, like, oh, it's going to be an Amazon distribution center. And so people don't even know, all of a sudden it's just up. They're going up fast. They think it's something else sometimes too. So they
No,
can't tell the peg now.
well, this is the next slide. The next slide is a theory that is roaming around. The penta god, right? The penta god here.
Yeah, pentagram. Okay.
The penta meaning 5.
Oh, there's a plane going in
Meaning
it.
5. Oh yeah, there's a plane. Look at the plane. The plane.
It didn't really hurt the rest. I just saw a plane fly right into it. Interesting.
Yeah, just a plane, and they, no burning or singeing,
Maybe it was just a bird.
except for where it landed. So the story is that so how many years have we had Facebook? It's been since like 2008, 9? No, 2010 and 11 is when it started.
No, way
Like
earlier
when it
than
really started.
But wait,
But
yeah, what
when
I
it
remember.
really started to take off, it
Okay.
was like 2008, 2000,
It was before that.
I mean, it was like 2003, but really it started taking off then. So all of this data stuff that they've been collecting since MySpace. Okay, MySpace was the first one. So what is and actually this is actually was talked about that 12 years ago, and so this isn't even going that far back, but 12 years ago that they have been building a sim replica of all of humanity. And so all of your history, all of your everything, your credit cards, your traveling, what you purchase, what you watch, blah blah blah. Your whole entire life is in this sim. Okay, everybody that is connected through these systems. And your social media, yeah, what you ate today, who you slept with yesterday, blah blah blah. So they've been listening to our conversations. We know this through your cell phones, through your smart devices, right? Which means to harm, to pierce, to scar, which is sacrifice. So it was that the Pentagon is building a digital human clones to test things on the clones to invade the reality that we're in now. This is the theory. That's why they're building all of these data centers. This is one of the major theories.
They're making another you.
Right.
Well, how would
And I
they
was
take
like,
you
whoa,
over as
that's
a
pretty
clone?
intense.
Oh, I guess I can think of a couple different ways
It's a
that they could be.
sim. And so they're using the sim to
Digital
like
you.
do testing to see what would happen to humanity. So that way, why? What so they know our reactions, they know what we're gonna do. I mean, it's literally like predicting the future because we've given them all of our information freely.
Well, they want to create worlds, and that is this sorcery. That's what the top people do. Those wizards in these movies, that's what they're doing. You can create your own universe.
I think they're already doing that because we already see
Yes.
targeted
Why do you
ads
think
and,
we're
and
even
everything,
here?
and when you talk about a certain thing, you get an ad on your phone, and it's like exactly what you were talking about 10 minutes ago. Like, that's already pretty implemented.
They can capture. Okay, when I say they, I've kind of seen and experienced some downloads of especially if they're cold-blooded, right? If they're and cold-blooded would be reptiles, snakes, and electronics. And so they kind of need that gap of us, which are warm-blooded, I think, in order to kind of play between the realms. But this is one thing they can capture worlds and create worlds, create those universes. And this is like when you're
Yeah, and this is a
CERN.
3D
This is CERN.
profile that they're making.
So they're going to turn off CERN
CERN is
during this
100%,
full moon.
100%.
Mercury goes retrograde. And then this is their opportunity of creating, like them attempting to create this other world, opening up portals. You see Stranger Things. That's exactly what that show is about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if
It's
you guys don't think this stuff is real, you're insane. Because when you think about that humanity can manifest and create anything in worlds, like it's very possible because we all know there's multiple dimensions. I've been through them. I don't know about anybody else, but it's very possible. Like
and the
that this is
blood
actually
is
going to happen,
the blood is very
and that they're
important.
creating I mean, well, think about it. We're already inverted with the moon. And so
Yes.
they're creating another inversion, but it's 3D, like the actual 3D sim. So
Yeah.
that way they can like figure out how to because we're chattel, right? So now now they can actually figure out how to keep us more contained and controlled and kill us off faster,
And the blood
which is
is
fine. I'm okay
you.
with it because I want to go home. I just don't want to. I don't want to reincarnate,
In
because I had
there.
a really horrible death.
It's not that easy.
You
It's not
know.
that easy. It's not that easy. And the blood is something definitely like I love this picture that you created. The blood is one of this catalyst of transferring information. We have the crystalline DNA. And the DNA is code. Is
Mhm.
code.
And it's mixed with the water. what we've been talking about. So we're on the half hour, everybody, but we're going to continue to keep going. So we got a few more slides to reach out with you in this information. Let's see here. What are we on next? Okay, here we go. So these are all of the companies that are associated with data centers. So you have Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Why do you think Washington State was in there as one of the largest ones? Because of Microsoft. Plus, we got a lot of water up here, and a lot of it goes towards China. Like a lot of the power does actually, not the water, but the power sources do. Then you have Meta, which is fake book, right? You have Apple, Oracle, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. Which so we're now into AI specialized cloud providers. So clouds are part of it. The other ones were the hyperscaler, big tech, and cloud giants. There's CoreWeave, Nebius, and then you have co-location and managed service providers, which are Equinix, Digital Reality, QTS Data Centers, which is Blackstone, Vantage Data Centers, Cyrus One, Edge Core, Hunt Midwest, Edge Energy Building, Tier Point, H5 Data Centers, Iowa Council has like a few in here, Nebraska, blah blah blah. So I will post this in the Telegram group, all of this list, because it goes over the different places where these are located. But I didn't want to go into. So these are the companies that are currently operating and actively building data centers in the United States. I don't think. Let's see here. So let me see. I don't think I had it. Yeah. So let's go ahead and move to the next one. And Chevron is like one of the big ones. Chevron, and that's why I got the Chevron out here, right? If you guys remember, it's the double cube, which is enslaving humanity because we are the cube. It's the pentagram, right? The number 666. So the double cube on top of each other is a way that Chevron's logo is used for big oil companies, right, to control the populace. Because without water and oil and stuff like that, they control us 100%. Like, we will starve, we will have famines based on this. So what's happening now is that the big oil companies, I was talking about this earlier, they're gonna cry a lot if we start doing this free energy stuff. And late 2025, Chevron announced that it plans to build a 2.5 gigawatt to a 5 gigawatt natural gas power plant on approximately 7,000 acres of land. Some of it is owned by Chevron and Texas Pacific Land Corporation and others. And this is to specifically power a massive AI data center. So this is when they actually entered into this with, guess who? Microsoft, like the devil, as we know, for this power. And so, if they wanted to really crack it open and not worry about the power grid, they would release the Kraken. Is what so go to the next slide. I don't know if it's in there. I might have moved it. I don't see where it is. I had it in here. What happened to it? I had the Kraken and it's gone. Oh, well, yeah, it's totally gone. That's so weird. Where did my slide go?
I might have thought it was a background one. I apologize. It's gone. So
fuck.
Sorry about that. I thought it was a background one. So that's where it went. That's it.
Well, so we need to release the Kraken of like letting the power companies go into having free energy. But the one thing about it is that big oil is going to throw a fucking fit and it's going to cry like a big baby. because they want their money, and so it's just another way that we're not gonna have free power because they want to make their money. So on the next, oh, there it is. Ta-da! The Kraken. uh, but yeah, so this one right here, you can see that there's the data centers and how the draining of your town. And the reason why I picked these pyramids, I made these with AI, uh, is because it reminded me of the of Giza and the pyramids, and that they found these pillars underneath that are buried underneath the pyramids. So I was like, well, let's make pictures out of like what possibly could they look like. So so these these data centers, if I don't know if you can zoom in, but I know you might not be able to, but so they go from like 100 plus Fahrenheit, and that town water supply goes into your community, and then it peaks to a factor of like a typical home, and then which is like 2, but the peaking factor for a data center is 30 plus. And then if you look at the Lakes in rising demand for scrutiny, and then you have Texas and Arizona, and then we're looking at corporate profits, socialized infrastructure and cost, and blah blah blah. Now was one thing that this is actually going to raise water bills. So people that want to grow their own food, you have to have a well and be able to like just grow your own food without having to pay for water, because you will be paying for water. So the one thing about these data centers is that there's this Dr. Robert Davies. He's a physics professor in Utah State University. He claimed that all proposed Stratos AI data centers in Utah would release a thermal energy equivalent to 23 atomic bombs per day. That's fucking a lot. Nothing will be able to survive for I don't know how many miles. So this is like a thermal load of 16 gigawatts, consisting of 9 gigawatts for operation and 7 to 8 gigawatts of waste heat, which he warned would significantly raise the local temperatures and harm the regional ecosystem. So it's not just fucking nature. And you know what? I'm so sick and tired of hearing that animals and plant life is not important. And this is what these big data corporations, they don't give a shit about any of that, and especially you, because you are a part of nature and you're going to be affected by this.
Yeah, people forget that without plants we don't breathe. We don't have oxygen.
What? Are you serious?
Rumor has it.
Photosynthesis? What is that?
We need plants need water. So more than anything, like you can't just like we're just gonna like live in dune land and walk. We'll comb the desert looking for water. So we need to have soil. We need to have plants. We need to have all these parts so that we survive. We cannot. Plants are just for us to eat. They provide the oxygen that we breathe, and we also breathe it in consciousness, and we breathe in the air. So we breathe in the air elements,
and all of it has consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back and look at these pyramids, the water, people are using boats, they're using to transport food, to go to a local friend's house, whatever. It's going to kill off that lifestyle and how we live today, especially with AI cars now. Like, this is so stupid. Like, who needs a fucking AI car? I'm sorry, it's just dumb. So let's continue. I know, so we got a little video on the next one after because I don't know which slide we're on. I apologize. I can't tell if I'm freezing on this side. Yeah, I already talked about this one.
Okay, so we have
I already talked about this one. This is a little movie.
Oh yes.
I
Books.
I love Mel Brooks. Thank you, Mel Brooks, for being one of the funniest Jews on the planet. Now, the reason why I put this in here was because Elon Musk is proposing to have orbiting data centers in space. Yeah, how about no? And that we have free energy sources instead. So it reminded me of Jews in space when I heard this because I was like, I wonder if this has anything to do with that because it's the pentagram, right? The spaceships, which has to do with the chevron. And so I was like, this is very similar to that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think the free energy is going to change a lot of things, and it'll probably it's already started small, and there's a lot of available information on how to make your own energy free devices. But of course, it's connecting them, and most people think it's impossible, but really, just if you've got some magnets and some copper, you can make your own batteries. You can make and generate your own energy with things that you can buy at Walmart right now. So I mean, there's videos on YouTube. In fact, we should actually do a free energy episode because a lot of this information is out there already and patent free. Like you can make these devices yourself, and with a little bit of knowledge, you can have the ability to power a flashlight. And I mean, any and hopefully even more. But they if it's put down in the lowest part of the algorithm because of the big like oil and power producers, because they would, if they knew, or if the people knew that you could generate electricity with something as simple as an magnetic coil generator, then they'd be out of a business. But and it's like, look at the green industry and all that, and windmills and all that, like that stuff's been heavily put to the back burner in many ways, with so people think that oil and gas is the only way to go, but really there are many alternatives that can keep you on your own grid as well, so that way these giant orbital data centers aren't sucking the juices out of your meter.
Well, the reason too why I put again behind this video is a pyramid. It reminds me of Giza, and that it's just dry as a fucking bone. And that, is there a possibility that because there's this hype that these are like were free energy systems. Well, could they also have fried that area because it's all desert, and you know, maybe that's one of the reasons why they left and came to the Americas, or was it the opposite way? And then we went there. I don't know. I mean, because this is a cycle, and uh, the song has been going on in my head for a few days. History repeats itself. By AOS, it was on Natural Born Killers. I posted it a little bit ago, but a few days ago. But I'm hearing it over and over and over again in my head. Um, because it's this cyclical cycle that we're just continuing to like repeat, and we're moving around, doing it over and over and over again. And it's kind of getting a little, you kind of get dizzy from all of it.
There's a couple ways out. I mean, one way is that you can choose to align yourself so you don't have to incarnate again. That's one way out. Another one is that you manifest your energy to when you do pass away, you reincarnate onto a timeline that you'd like to enjoy. And then there's the idea of actually working on manifesting into the timeline that you want in this reality, in this body, right here, right now, which is brings us back to the power of being able to change water with our intent, which we are made of, goes through our brain and goes through our heart. So that is one of the major keys to getting us in the path that we want to be on. Because dying is annoying. It's annoying to have to leave your body and then go through those realms
I
and then
think
come back
pooping
and
is
do it again. Like
annoying.
it's kind of
Taking
an
a shit is
annoying
annoying.
process. It's nice to be able to manifest in this world as well and be prepared for whatever's coming down the pipeline, which hopefully it continues to be water.
Well, and Super Mario Brothers always comes to mind. The plumbers. There's something to that video game for sure, but the flow of water is important. All these dams and reservoirs, right? And they're capturing the water. Where I live, they changed the direction of where the river went, and then it floods everywhere by the road. Like it's just it knew what it was doing for a long time. And so water has like it has this flow, it has this, it's definitely a force, but it needs a container. And if it doesn't have one, it will create one. And the fact that this, like the essence of life is water. And the fact that they're taking it, they sold this on this climate change and being green when they are just maritime pirating it all away.
Yeah.
And I believe in the theory that they are creating this sim world. They are, like, the data is to create another you. Quite creepy.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
I
is weird.
think AI entities doing that.
Well, I mean, think about it. If they're gonna put us all into robots, there you go. That's your Battlestar Galactica. Again, like, I'm looking at the chat here and whatnot, and we have like 8 likes, but then there's 4 dislikes, and I'm like, who dislikes water?
Or they just dislike us, they're trying to
What
personalize.
the fuck? I don't really care if they dislike us, but I was like, they don't like water. That was the first thing. Like, they
Yeah,
actually
right? They
want
must
data
hate it.
centers. Like, they're these haters
They
that
don't drink Diet
really
Coke.
don't. They think that their video games are going to be taken from them, or their cell phones, their addictions are going to be thrown away, and they're not going to have fun anymore. Oh, you're not going to have fun when there's no water. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we must be making a splash to get like that many thumbs down.
It just made me laugh.
It
Anyways,
ripples,
are
ripples
you gonna
back.
are you
Like
gonna
water.
save your last slides for next week, or are we not doing those?
Well, that's I kind of, you were talking about the
I
pyramids,
mean,
and then I got all flustered with all the videos going on. So we could continue. I depends on if we're going to continue on this topic or not, but I did want to bring up the 4 rivers of Eden, right? Of Edon. And this comes up a lot. I believe this has to excuse me. This represents the 4 fixed signs of Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. I'm gonna have to bring up my notes. Well, I keep coughing, my goodness. Okay, so the anchors, and then so you'll see the 4 these 4 rivers talked mostly in the Bible. Dang it, there we go. I'm gonna go to this next slide too, so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is some old art. The one on the left is the four rivers. The one on the right is a fountain of life, and it kind of looks like the pyramids that Nova had created, where there was pillars underneath them with water, which is really interesting. But dang it, I'm so sorry. I have too many things open right now. I need to get to where I need to get to, so I can read my notes and just not like. You won't like that. Okay, the Rivers of Paradise.
Paradise.
Rivers of Paradise. So that is the left artwork on and that's the 4 rivers of paradise. So the 4 rivers flowing from the Eden are the 4 rivers described in Genesis chapter 2, 10 through 14, where an unnamed stream flowing out of the Garden of Eden splits into 4 branches: the Pishon, the Gihon, the Hiddekel, which is also known as the Tigris. Most people probably recognize that, and the Proth, or also the Euphrates. So these 4 rivers form a feature of the garden. So this is part of Abraham's religions. So you see this in Genesis. You see this as part of not just all these stories, but part of the body, the temple body. And then it also has to do with 4 of the disciples. So the Tigris is Mark, Euphrates is Luke, Matthew is the Gihon, and the Python is John. So these 4 main disciples of Jesus, right? There's 12, the zodiac signs, and he's talking about 4 specifically. And I believe these are the 4 fixed signs of Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Leo. And I think that has to do with your Access Monday, where your own placements are and what they're doing. So with that, the rivers, this is like the fountain of life. So if you can balance your heart chakra, of course, with all these other main fixed zodiac signs that represents different chakras in your body, different parts of your body, and different stages of your journey. I don't know. I thought that was like really beautiful. So it leads to the fountain of life too. And the fountain of life is depicted and sought after all the way back to stories like Gilgamesh, where everyone's trying to find the fountain of youth. Right. I don't know if you two had anything to say about that, because one of the most amazing
I'm just noticing. Oops, I
Go
just
ahead.
moved the picture. I didn't mean to do
Oh, I was like, did I do that?
that.
Magic.
Because I'm looking at it, and I'm having issue with like this side of my computer. Okay, anyways, what I notice is the Lord of the Host, which are in the picture, and those are the 3 angels to the left. And the shape, I've always kind of wondered what the heck, because they're angels. They're the Lord of the Host. They're the ones that are born of the ship. It's like Enoch, right? Enoch had this information and this technology that was given to us. He's one of the ones that was born of a ship. And I'm looking at him, and it literally is the figure 8.
Well,
Is
and
it
it's
not?
the seraphim and the Elohim. Seraphim and Elohim right there. These are the pillars. This is the different sides of your
I know,
brain.
but this is 888. It has 3 8s there. I mean,
Oh,
this is
totally. Yeah,
that's what the shape is.
it is.
So I had never
It
really
is the
kind of looked
seraphim
at
and
it
the
before.
Elohim. Elohim.
So that would be the number what? 24.
And isn't 42 the
which is
number?
which is
Is the
42 if you flip it around.
yeah. So what the
What
Elohim?
was the significant about that again? I can't remember the 42.
Well, one, I mean, people know that it's a movie line, but to me, I found that it was B sharp, and it has to do with the frequency of bees.
Oh, you know what? When I was in the bathtub earlier before this, I was like, I'm being. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a bee. That's what I was saying. The B
Yeah.
sharp. Ah,
That was
interesting.
my understand. That's my crazy understanding. It kind of makes sense, but 42, you could bring it into several other different things, but no, very good with like that 8, and like so the Elohim and the Seraphim, and we're talking about the soul man temple. So it also has to do with the makeup of our bodies, the electromagnetic bodies that we are. So the Elohim is the like is the electricity part of it. And then the seraphim are the 2 different sides of your brain, but they're also the 2 arc. That's where the arc goes of the electricity between them.
Mhm.
So the 4 rivers we can then go into the four liquids, I guess, of our body, and that goes into the medicine wheel, where we have the four
Bile,
the bile, the phlegm,
bile, blood,
and the
phlegm.
black bile.
Hmm.
Right, so we have black, yellow, red, white. I think it all is tied into, and this is the fountain of life, the fountain of youth. um
Hmm.
So it once again, it always comes back to the soul body. It's represented in art. It's represented in as like these disciples. It's as above, so below. So it's always the zodiac is always the temple body. And I'm sorry, I sound like I feel I'm always coming to the same conclusion, but that's what it really points to. A lot of this stuff, doesn't it? And so I
Hmm.
don't know if anybody's seen the movie The Fountain. When I was younger, like me and my friend, like, let's go get high and go to this movie. And we both walked out of there just like, huh? It's a really good movie, but it's about this your soul's ever eternal existence. And two souls finding each other in every life, even if they turn into a tree. It's really
Oh shit!
profound
You know, this
movie. If you
picture's got mushrooms in it too. Mushrooms is what's in it. There's totally mushrooms. Those are mushrooms.
in the
And I was
movie The
looking at
Fountain.
the palm trees. No, this right here, this picture. They're mushrooms.
Oh, I totally went to the next one.
Oh, I was sorry. I was still looking at the other one
That's
because
okay.
it's not working for me really well on the other one. So,
Well, right. So
'cause
again, the story of Gilgamesh, he finds
and then you Mhm.
that makes
Go
him
ahead.
aware of his own fountain of youth, really. And that's that awareness of your own fountain of youth. Then you start. So when people become enlightened, they start taking care of their body because they know that that's where their light lives. Of course, then a lot of times you will grow a second ego, which is crazy. But you're right, there are mushrooms in there. And then so there's got to
Mushrooms.
the other plant then might be a palm tree.
Well, it's got 11. Each one has 11.
Uh,
So I was trying to figure out the significance to that because that's the pillar. Is 11. And so you would be able to get through the divine will because it's the veil. And how many are there? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Oh, there you go. 6, which is human. So the divine will of the left and right hemisphere of your brain gets you because the shape of the tear, right? The rain, the raindrop, the teardrop, the rain. They say it in songs all the time, like purple rain. These are all ways to reach a higher consciousness. And that's what and then you got all these hills, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hills, or I don't know if those ones on the bottom are considered to be 8, but again we got that number 8 again.
well, and art like this, it's all numerology. So every part of it will be because it already is. And our geometry, sacred geometry, is made up of all the numbers. We have geometry of 1, geometry of 2, 3, 4, 5, and so, yeah, you can look at something like this on and on and on, and it's definitely the 4 fixed signs, the 4 rivers, and this fountain of life. And what's weird is then people ran with it, and to where it becomes the depiction on the right. It becomes the fountain of blood, because really all the biblical stories too, that's what it is, isn't I'll turn this water into wine from the vine, the blood of life. um
Well,
Funny,
it's the Vesica Pisces too, which is you can look at that as like how we're born into a womb because that's what the cup represents, is a womb. Also the ship, the lords of it's the seraphim and the cherubim in this, those who were born of a ship, the brilliant shining ones. That's what this is representing. And the lambs would be us. That we drink the blood of the illusion, literally, of the blood of the Vesica Pisces. That's what the
This is
wound
my
is in this
body.
picture.
This is my blood. Turn water to wine, water to blood, water to vine. He walked on water. Even walked on
Oh, and
water.
there's 6 sheep too. 6 sheep. I mean, it's telling you right there that it's human.
Mhm. Very
Hmm.
cool.
I've never seen that one before. It's interesting. I'm trying to figure out what those are. The Lord of the Hosts. That's who those are that
Well,
rule
and it reminds me of Manly
over
P.
humanity.
Hall's, but again, it got the whole world in his hand type of thing. And so a lot,
Mm,
you'll see the Virgin Mary, the Bleeding Mary. So the blood and the water are interchangeable with the wine, especially in Christianity, like a mock sacrifice, if you will. So, if you go to certain boys club and they have a big owl and they have a mock sacrifice. And then you go to your I don't know, your building and maybe there's a cross hanging up and you kind of have and you go and you drink some blood or something that's supposed to represent it and you drink body and or something that's supposed to represent it, right? And that's a mock feast of cannibalism, if you will.
yeah, that's the inversion part of religion. That's what religion turned into, is the inversion of sacrifice. When it was literally just about sacrificing the lamb which is
Ego.
innocence. So that way, yeah, the ego that is confused and can't see in front of itself, and that's why these pictures, like, it's so that way it's showing you that you have the ability to see the truth, and that if you use your own frequency and water, because that's what Aquarius is spilling out of his cup, is out of his vase, right? Is the blood of man as well, because Uranus is the god of man. So,
Well,
which rules
this is
Aquarius? What's that? Sorry, it's like it's rubber banding so bad for me. I can barely hear you guys, but
no worries. I apologize. This one has 7 lambs.
I
So
thought
the
I saw
shep
6.
Yeah.
I'm not. I closed the thing out, so I
No
apologize. But
worries.
it's 808 where I'm at. 808 this and 808 that. Boom, boom, boom. It's one of my things I've been saying, everybody, lately, is like, where are the men at? Boom, boom. If you know what that means, figure it out on your own, because we've got to make some boom boom, and I don't mean some dance moves. So
Cat
uh
calls.
sorry, I can't hear what
Gotta
you're saying.
show
I'm
up,
just rubber
boys.
banding so
Gotta
bad.
show up.
All right. Well, maybe we should call it an evening too, since you're rubber banding. That was kind of the end of what I want to talk about for the time being. I guess we'll have to discuss as a team what we're going to be discussing next week on the podcast. You've been listening to Nova, Mariah, Matthew, Poppy's Field Project. We get together every Wednesday on Hump Day on AM Wake Up channels. Yeah. Did we want to talk about anything else before we say adieu to the day, to the show?
I think this is gonna
Any last
branch out into
words?
some really interesting topics, and we can go back into elements again. But there's definitely lots to talk about here. So, we can go in many directions. But I think we could definitely do another one on that too if you guys want. I've got some more things to say, and I definitely have some more thoughts on AI too. So, just too much for just one podcast, of course.
Nova, anything last for you? Otherwise, thank you,
I just
everybody.
want to say love, light, and anarchy, and heavy metal, guys. Keep on rocking it out there. Be brave. and stand your ground, and and love as deeply as you can, because sometimes love means boom boom and not just bump bump.
Holler to that.
All right, much love to everybody, and we will be seeing you next week at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Look at your clocks, put your calendars in there, or what time, if you want to hang out with us again. We do have a couple subjects. I can't remember what they are. We have them written down somewhere. So we'll go over those, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much. Much love, everyone.
Much love. Good night.
Bye, everybody.